Market conditions majority bullish at 14 and 0 on S&P 500 futures down this morning 1.12% based on Moody's U.S. downgrade, credit downgrade, and we'll see if that spills over into today's session as well, or if we get a bounce right here. A couple of areas of note to be aware of. If we pay attention to this upper supply block location, this is the area where price had broken down before and ultimately broke through this structure location right here. And so if we get price back into this supply location, supply meaning there's sellers ready to go right here. So we've got a range right now where we've got this range between this, essentially this 5,800 and 6,000 range. This is kind of the current playground where we could retrace back down and bounce off this. We could rally up to this 6,000 and then watch to move. So we could see some volatility inside of this range right here as we've had really just a straight up move and entering into some areas where we could see some additional institutional type selling at these locations. I think we're getting institutions that did sell or shorted, and now they're moving back in. And part of this move this most recent move may have been some short covering. Getting a little squeeze here to push us back to these levels. That was a pretty sharp move up and then back down again. SPX closed out on Friday at 14 and 14 on the daily time frame here, the weekly time frame. And again, just be aware of this overhead supply location. And we've got a couple of other things and as well as that news today, that's significant. We'll get down to these bonds. You can see that 10-year spiking at 250 this morning, up 2.5%, I should say. We're seeing breadth now 77, so we're also pressing that upper 80 range that we've talked about before. This overbought location, it's just entering this. It can hover and stay in here, but it's at a location to where the probability of additional upside is starting to or can become a little bit muted at these areas. So be aware of that. So that's kind of two strikes entering into supply location, getting some news today, seeing breadth approaching that 80 range. And let's look at VIX. VIX is up 12% this morning, up to 19. It had been below that down here at this 17 range. Anything under 20, still kind of okay, but again, everything now has been really straight to the upside. We could be in an overbought position. Let's look at SHY. We're seeing the short end of that yield curve, the bond prices kind of flattening. We're getting that compression on the weekly time frame, majority bearish on the daily time frame. That's corresponding to 2-year note rally, where we're now seeing this trend neutral right here, bullish in the overall uptrend, but neutral. We're now seeing majority bullish at 10 and 4 on the 2-year notes, and they're at 4%. And let's look at TLT, that TLT bond trend moving lower. That's meaning rates are going higher. We're seeing that 10-year out 456. So we've got the 2-year at 4, the 10-year out to 456. We're also seeing that bond yield curve, which is the difference between the two, kind of narrowing back down again. So it was moving in, and it's still moving in the right direction. We're just getting some volatility in that. We want to see one or the other. We want to see the long end continue to rise and the short end continue to drop. That's just still not happening quite yet. We're still seeing both of these moving a little bit more in lockstep. And the value of that is that the stock market is going to be looking at how do these affect the economy going down the road. Is there more friction in the economy? Is it harder to lend? Is it harder to, is it harder to borrow for both institutions and consumers alike, where it's just the cost of borrowing is still quite high. And if we have economic slowdown and expensive borrowing, that may, maybe less home equity lines or home purchases or bigger things that we need to borrow money for to get real significant growth at the corporate level as well. Those are going to be some economic concerns in addition to tariffs and everything that's happening right here. So there are some reasons to have some concern, but the market is not there yet. The market is obviously not concerned. It's still pressing higher, but be aware that we're at those locations where tightening up the risk locations, looking at allocations as well. Let's jump over and look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average. DIA pushing up to 424, dipping back down to that 426 range. Here we've got compression, move back into bullishness, and upper end of that long rally. I've mentioned this before. I'll mention it again, that this is, are we at a point like this right here where we start this initial downturn, we get a sharp rally that takes us back to bullish, and then things kind of roll back over again. This compression could flip pretty quickly if we did see markets start to move back down again. We get the compression. This is where decision points start to happen at compression and expansion. So when you're looking at this indicator and you're saying, what should I be doing? What is the market telling me that the scenario is? Well, the scenario is compression after an oversold scenario in a downtrend. Still, we can see that perspective. Obviously, we can see that perspective on this chart as well, and that Dow entering into that potential playground zone where we could get a push in the Dow even higher. So we've got some upside still on the Dow and the S&P 500, some room for it to push into some of those upper levels. Let's look at the Qs right here. It's already in this supply block, compression moving aggressively to the upside, and just that sharp sell-off straight down, straight back up again. If we actually push back and get to these new all-time highs and it holds this support, that could really turn into kind of an exuberant market scenario where we really get a big push higher. And we'll see if that's the case, if the market is buying into everything that's happening in the economy right now. As of now, they are. IWM is the Russell 2000. We're seeing that 50% retracement of the downtrend here as well. Majority bullish on the weekly time frame, so pretty sharp rally here in small cap names. Also, USO, the ETF for oil. We've talked about the support pattern right here. I'm going to squeeze in that weekly time frame so you can see this. This was COVID back here. Oil really fell off the table. Let me just move this over, and you've got this location now. So we've been right at this 50% low. This is a pretty long-term chart, 2021, 22, 23, some support, still moving to the downside here in the shorter term, but working its way back up. This is that demand block right down here at that 50% location. So could see some support holding in oil, and if so, and get a new rally, it'll be interesting to see what oil does here as well, if it pushes higher at these levels or not. As of right now, it's inside of that 236, 382 retracement zone here and here. Okay, so this becomes our location. I call it the playground where it's going, these are your support, your resistance, or these are pivot points as well, where you're getting support and resistance ranges before a breakout. Okay, once it changes above this, then this becomes the new low and this becomes the new high, and then this becomes the playground, okay, of areas of support resistance that need to be broken or violated in terms for the trend to advance one direction or the other. So we're inside of that range right now on USO. Those could be tradable locations as well if you're shorter term looking to buy and sell at some of these locations as well inside of those playground zones. Then you could go down to a little bit smaller time frame as well for some of that. Let's take a look here at GLD. Getting a little bit of a rally here, 298. It's been playing around this momentum zone. It may want to get back up above that, sitting right at that level as of right now. Silver, similar type price pattern. A couple of trade ideas to consider today. CDTX, nice confirmation bar, nice increased volume, moving back into momentum, and a nice pattern for some continuation possibilities there as well. ALTS, also nice setup, similar type price pattern in that stock. Big volume, back into momentum, some potential resistance here. You can see those topping tail bars where it's at these highs. If it could push out above, get up above that $7.50, $8 range, could see some continued acceleration in the momentum for that stock. That'll do it for today's update. Everyone have a fantastic day today.